We live in a time of relentless business transformation. Where connecting customers, products, people, and data wins. Where smarter wins. A time where Microsoft technology can help transform organizations, bringing together company and customer, patient and provider, factory and field service, people and government, storefront and supply chain. Without silos, without limits. Just customers, products, people, and data connected and ready. This is Dynamics 365. Microsoft Business Applications. Unlock next.
Please welcome CVP Business Applications Group, James Phillips, and CVP Business Applications and Global Industry, Alysa Taylor.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Orlando and Ignite. I'm James Phillips. I run engineering for Dynamics 365 and our Power Platform.
My name is Alysa Taylor, and I run our global product marketing team responsible for our go-to-market for Dynamics and the Power Platform as well. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. The goal of today's session is really to showcase how organizations of all shapes and sizes across all industries are leveraging technology to not only disrupt, but to innovate and to meet the needs of the constant changing expectations of customers. And so this is important because industries across are in transition. So if I just think of a couple, retail is one that comes to mind. That industry has seen more disruption in the past decade. If you think about it, customers now expect a seamless experience between what they get in store and then what they experience digitally. Yep. And another great example is the financial institutions. Think about it, we used to have bankers' hours. We would actually go in and meet with the teller to access our financial portfolio.
I can remember when tech was the vacuum tube things, when you went through the drive-thru with your mom.
Absolutely, you put your cash and your checks in there and it'd make that sucking sound. Yeah. But now, we have to have technology that allows customers to have access to their financial portfolio 24 hours a day from any device across the globe. Yeah,
and I think that, the tech is cool, but I think the thing that has to happen is sort of a coming together of IT and business.
Absolutely.
Tech is sort of the enabler, but ultimately if it doesn't move the needle for the business, it's sort of like trees falling in the forest that no one's there to hear.
Yes, absolutely, and it's very much a cultural shift, and I think it's one that we are embodying at Microsoft as well. And we're looking at not only from the technology enablement, but also how do we get organizations and individuals to work together, to have a new mindset, a growth mindset.
Absolutely, and so that's what we're going to talk about. So for the next hour, I'm going to spend time sort of going through with one of my favorite customer, actually, if I can pick favorites, digital transformation, talking about some of the technologies that we're bringing to bear.
Absolutely. And then I'm going to come back and I'll talk further about some of the industry trends that we're seeing. And we hope between the two of us and our sessions today that we are going to leave you here with lots and lots of good information and to think about transformation and how to leverage it.
That's right. So I'll see you in an hour.
Sounds good.
Alysa.
Thanks, James.
Okay, so as I said, I'm going to try and spend most of the time looking at product, looking at technology. We've got what I think is a pretty unique and special session today. We've got one customer, I'll save that for a minute who it is, that's going to come out and sort of stay with us through the entire hour. But this session is, of course, about business applications. And if you think about business apps, I mean, for 40 years, business applications have been used to allow us to engage our customers, transform our operations, engage our people, and they've been relatively unchanged. Right? You think about, back in 1978, sitting in front of a VT100 terminal talking to a VAX on the back end. A business application at that point in time looked like forms that you fill out, update lead records, update call records. It stores data in a relational database, and you get information back out in the form of reports. You fast forward to 92, you're sitting in front of the same application. It just happens to be running in a Windows FAT client talking to a Sun system on the back end. You fast forward to last year, and you open a browser. Same app, forms over data, running reports, right? So unchanged pretty much for all time. But we are we're on the doorstep of fundamental change. Literally, I would argue for the first time in the history of business applications, where change fundamentally, both in what's possible for the business and sort of what's possible in the business applications that run the business, is beginning to happen. We talk a lot about digital transformation as sort of the buzzword, if you will, that wraps all that up into the opportunity. And I want to talk today about our point of view on digital transformation. What does it mean? How do you do it? And try to get a little bit more pointy than just simply throwing the buzzword around. And so if you peel back everything, if you just sort of get down to what's really happening in the world that's different, that's allowing this change to occur, the thing that's changing more than anything else is that data is coming out of everything. Everything. Every time someone has a mention on social media, every time I update a LinkedIn profile, every time I use a connected product, every time a jet lands with a GE or Rolls-Royce engine and a terabyte of data uploads on the performance profile over the course of that, everything is sending data. And that data, if you use it to gain intelligence, to gain insight, allows you to fundamentally reimagine what's possible for your business, but it requires a different kind of business application. It's not some human fills out a form to create data and then that leads to the business application's value. The data comes first in many cases. And analysis of that data that's coming from everything leads to this transformation. And so this sort of script flip, if you will, turning the data upside down, that's what's really making all of this possible. And as we go through today, you'll see how we've leveraged that reality to go change the nature of customer engagement, operations, how you engage your talent, et cetera. Now, the Microsoft Cloud, three broad components, Office 365, Dynamics 365, and Azure, all come together. And as a company, we've really started to rotate around this digital feedback loop concept. It's a great grounding and framework for us to think about how we bring all of our products to bear on behalf of our customers who are trying to navigate these changes. And so when I talk about Dynamics 365, I never ever talk about it in a vacuum. It does live in the context of all of these other capabilities that, when used together, I think bring unique value to our customers. But it centers on data. So let me just talk a little bit about something Satya said this morning and highlight how important that center part of the cloud is, data and intelligence. So one of the things that we believe is critically important is the ability to sort of bring data together in a structural and semantic form that allows relationships to be drawn and sort of insights to be gained that span across all of your applications. You need to understand which customer is using which product that was serviced by which employee, that was created by which supply chain member, right? And so tying together all of your business applications in a way that allows the interrelationships to be understood and therefore value to be created is super important. And with Dynamics 365, we've built on top of something called the Common Data Service that makes that possible. But it's not just Dynamics, it's Office 365. So it's important to understand the communications, collaboration, the creativity, and all those interactions that are occurring also related to those structured business processes. And it's not just Office, LinkedIn. So bringing external signal in, understanding not just the relationships inside your company, but how they extend beyond your four walls. And this morning, Satya announced with Adobe and SAP that we're making this unified data initiative, this open data initiative available to the industry, and we as three companies are all sort of supporting this ability to bring data together out of our business applications in this common form to allow reasoning to occur and value to be extracted from what is ultimately the most important and valuable resource of any company going forward, and that is your data. And so very excited for the Open Data Initiative to sort of come into market today. We've been working on this, as you can imagine, for a long time, and it's a big opportunity for you, our customers, and for our partners to go get more value out of your data. And ultimately, that's sort of the key point, getting value out of your data. It's one thing to collect a bunch of data and to store it, It's another thing to be able to turn that data into insight and ultimately into action, into transform processes. And so one of the things that we'll see a lot of today is the application of artificial intelligence, the use of cognitive services to take data and turn it into insights. And we believe with Azure, we have the broadest collection of services and capabilities to take data and turn it into insight and action, whether it's streaming data, big data, relational data, on-premises data, or in the cloud. Our collection of tools to harness data and make value out of it, we believe, is unmatched. And so that sort of encapsulates the opportunity. Digital transformation via the digital feedback loop, data, intelligence, the Microsoft Cloud. We're going to start to focus now on Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. Again, never forget, it's part of the bigger picture, and as we go through today, you'll see LinkedIn, you'll see Office 365, you'll see Azure, you'll see Power BI coming together. But for a moment, let's just focus on Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. So if you look across Dynamics, we talk about sort of what's the essence of Dynamics, what makes it unique. And we have 4 characteristics that we highlight: modern, unified, intelligent, adaptable. I've talked a lot about unified and intelligent, the ability to unify your data and to unify across applications and processes, and to bring intelligence to bear against that data. There are 2 other characteristics, modern and adaptable, I'll spend a couple of minutes talking about. So from a modern perspective, if you think about the data side, you think about what's powering business applications, data coming out of everything, intelligence being applied. If you go all the way to the other side of the value chain, there are the experiences that are being delivered to take that data and that intelligence and to actually render it to the users of business applications or your customers. You're going to see HoloLens today being used to deliver a completely transformed experience that goes far beyond simply forms over data reporting and transforms the world sitting in front of a field service worker. Right? And so this ability not just to change the input side, but to change the delivery of experiences and applications is what we mean when we talk about modern, and it's sort of a core part of what Dynamics is. And then from an adaptability perspective, we'll spend some time with the Power Platform. So Power BI, Power Apps, Microsoft Flow allow you to tailor these applications. And by the way, not just Dynamics 365, but also Office 365. So both Dynamics and Office today have as a common core the Power Platform, which permits understanding your data, building applications, orchestrating workflows, and sort of tailoring these applications and making them your own, or building standalone applications atop that same data that's beneath those application families. And so as we go through the day, 2 things. Number 1, the digital feedback loop and how we make that possible, and the characteristics that make Dynamics unique in the industry as part of the Microsoft Cloud. And we'll sort of showcase the features and the capabilities that fit each of those categories. Okay, so I talked about one customer and the sort of how we're going to go through the day and demonstrate the capabilities that we're bringing to market. And we're going to do it, again, in the context of this digital feedback loop. So I'm going to sort of walk through each one of these blades it kind of looks like a propeller in some ways. And so each of these blades, customer, product, people, operations, we'll talk about how the transformation of these processes is made possible. The thing that I want to land, and that I think is important, is that these blades do not operate in isolation. You know, how I interact with my customers or engage my customers has a lot to do with what they're doing with my products, if I can observe that through IoT and connected products and services. How I empower my employees, train them, develop them has a lot to do with their experience or my experience and data about how they're operating, right? And the intelligence I get from observing them executing our business processes. And so these are all interrelated. You know, bringing these blades together atop a common data core is important. And so in the past, we would sort of bring out one customer to talk about one thing and another customer to talk about another. But I thought it'd be super powerful to bring one customer out and talk about how they're transforming their entire operation across customer, product, people, operations. And I was super fortunate to develop a relationship with Scott Wine, who's the CEO of Polaris. We've spent a lot of time together. It's an amazingly cool company. They've got great products. And so to talk about what they're doing across the digital feedback loop on each blade, I'd like to welcome Scott Wine out on stage.
Thanks, James.
Thank you, Scott. So we've spent a lot of time together.
We
talked
have.
about your business, and you know, this digital feedback loop concept. We had you out in Seattle, I think, a couple of weeks ago.
I've been out twice in the last 6 months.
Okay, that's good.
That's how much I like you guys.
It's good. And so as we roll this sort of digital feedback loop concept out, and you and I have talked a lot about what you're doing across each blade, I thought it'd be fun to just talk about sort of customers, operations, product, and how Polaris is transforming. And why don't we start with customers?
Well, everything we do is about our customers. In fact, our strategic purpose is to be a highly efficient, customer-centric enterprise. And what we've done through the Microsoft partnership is use all of the tools you make available to us to get closer to our customers, from taking their information in our CRM system to figure out how they're riding, to helping our engineers design the product. So really, it's been a pretty remarkable journey with the company as we've been, started as a transactional customer of Microsoft, and now really embracing, as you all have transformed, embracing all of your tools as building blocks to make Polaris a better company for our customers.
Got it. So what's, as you think about your customer base, changing needs, changing sort of viewpoints, how are your customers changing with you?
Well, we're the world's largest power sports company. We've got about 4 million customers in the United States. And obviously, one of the challenges we have is to reach a younger demographic. And so one way we do that is through technology and understanding how they're riding, where they're riding, making sure we reach them digitally, not just with the same television ads that we used to run.
Got it. So they're accustomed to having apps for everything, and you guys are engaging, I think, in that way.
Well, and we'll talk more about the product stuff later on, but really it's also about creating the database so we know what that customer wants. I mean, they expect us when they walk into a dealership to understand what their riding history has been, how they're going to ride, and with the huge data lake capability that we've built with Azure, we have that information for our dealers ready when a customer walks in.
Got it. And you guys have both B2C and B2B, right? You sell to fleets, and you also sell to individual consumers.
The largest portion of our business is certainly the consumer side, but we've got a fast-growing government and defense business where we sell to a lot of business-like customers. And they're really important to us because their needs are somewhat specific.
Yeah. Good, good. So let's flip over to operations. And so if you think about your manufacturing operations, if you think about supply chain distribution, talk about how that's changing for you.
Well, we've been a Dynamics customer for a long time. And I think I remember when my CTO finally told me that it was owned by Microsoft, he thought I was going to kill him. No, because I don't like ERP systems.
Yep.
But who
does?
No, but what we've been able to do with Dynamics is in all parts of our businesses, whether it's an acquisition or our manufacturing plants, we look at lean manufacturing as a competitive advantage. And with the IoT capability that we've been able to build in our factories, your partnership with PTC, we get data at all parts of our operational system. And in the future, very soon future, we're going to have that digital twin to have that product lifecycle knowledge all the way through the customer journey.
Got it. Yeah, and so I think it's important. You mentioned PTC, one of our great partners, and it's that common data model that sits beneath everything that we're doing that allows both Microsoft and our partners to connect your data and create more value.
Well, and with that partnership, we're able to poke-yoke or prevent mistakes from happening in our factory, which gives us ultimately a competitive advantage, and it only happens because of the way Dynamics has been embedded in all the things we do in our manufacturing system. And we're just building on that.
Got it. Okay, so we're going to do something a little bit different here.
I like different.
Yeah. So we're going to bring a product out on stage so that people understand what it is that you guys build. And so if we can just sort of fire up, this is a Ranger 1000.
I'm surprised you got permission to bring it out.
I think the fire marshal needs to be here. Come on out. Nice job. Welcome the Ranger 1000. Okay, so this is one of your products. Tell me a bit about the Ranger 1000.
That is our work utility vehicle. We have, recreational vehicles, but this is our true work utility vehicle. It is the best product on the market by quite some time. We've been in this business since 1998, and this incorporates all of the customer learnings we've had along the way. It truly is the best vehicle Polaris has ever made.
Fantastic.
Made in Huntsville. We built a new plant in Huntsville, Alabama recently.
Yep.
Again, we took all of the dynamics capability to build the system, the infrastructure for it. And I was just there last week with Brian Sullivan for a CNBC interview. We got to see these being made on the factory. But one of the things that you'll see is the ride command technology in the vehicle. So not only do we use the tools to help build the vehicle, we use it to provide technology into the vehicle so we can actually see where our customers are riding, take that feedback and make the vehicle better for the next customer.
Fantastic. So I bought 30 acres of farmland outside of Seattle about 2 years ago, and I'm getting one of these as soon as I get home.
Just one?
Just one, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to talk more about the feedback loop and product. Thank you so much
James,
for joining us.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so this wasn't just a trick to bring this out. We're actually we're gonna use this in one of the scenarios that we demoed to you a little bit later. But let me just talk a bit about the transformation that's happening on this product blade. So, I mean, you think about historically when a physical product left a manufacturing facility or a warehouse and sort of hit a distribution chain, it was gone as far as the manufacturer was concerned. You had to physically go out or you had to engage in phone calls to understand what a customer was doing. But as Scott just articulated, ride command, which is a part of this Polaris, is right there with the rider. There's a camera right on the front of this thing. There's GPS. There are applications in the cockpit of this vehicle that allow you to connect with your friends, to send information back to Polaris, to automatically post videos on YouTube. And so it's a super powerful connected product that instead of being a black hole once it leaves Polaris, is a source of information about the customer and their activities and their interests and what they're doing. And it serves in some ways as a social fabric for all the folks that are using these vehicles together. And so really, really powerful. And the thing that, one of the things I often hear from some of our customers is, look, we're not a product company. What does this have to do with us? Well, service companies too are almost always at this point at least somewhat digitally intermediated with apps. I get ride-sharing services by pulling an app out. I schedule a service call with my utility company by pulling out an app. And so even service organizations have software applications that allow customers and the business on the other side to connect. And that connection point provides information about service delivery. It provides information about customer satisfaction. And so products and services increasingly connected. And in some ways, that's the tip of the spear as it relates to the overarching digital transformation journey. Once you can really understand your customers because you see them using your products and services, now you can go engage them with far more intelligence. Now you can understand what's working quality-wise in your operations, manufacturing, and service delivery. And so pulling all of this together, I would argue, kind of starts right there at the product or the service. Okay, so let's move to customer engagement. The thing that I think characterizes more than anything else digital transformation is a shift from reactivity to proactivity, moving from someone has to call me and tell me something's broken, or I need to wait until someone walks into my organization before I can engage them, to a world where we can reach out and touch individuals, customers, prospects, before we even know them. Typically, my first encounter with a customer is through an anonymous web session where all I see is a cookie profile on the other side of the exchange, or a Twitter handle talking about my brand somewhere on social media. And so engagement starts now long before we even know who the customer is typically. And the ability to begin to very proactively build that relationship and begin to understand our customers even before we know them is fundamentally different. And again, it starts because data is coming before the apps land themselves. And so to talk a lot about how Polaris is using Dynamics 365 and the rest of the Microsoft Cloud to engage their customers, Ryan Martin's going to come out and do a demo for us. Come on out, Ryan.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Hi. So what we're going to look at today is a journey of one of Polaris's customers. They actually start as an anonymous IP address, and they go all the way through to becoming a lifelong fan of Polaris. And then we're going to flip it. We're actually going to see how Dynamics 365 empowers the employees of Polaris through each step of the way of that entire process. So I'll jump over here and start. As I mentioned, I'm an anonymous IP address. Actually, I've been tasked with purchasing a fleet of these vehicles. And I start that process by browsing the Polaris website. So what we see here is that I get a really good overview of the features. I can look at the gallery, but I'm having an exceptionally busy day and I need to move on. So what I actually decide to do is follow them on Twitter. And once I do that, I go about my day. The next day, I return. And I actually see a tweet that talks about a new product that's launching that really looks fit for our purpose. And they ask me to go to community portal to actually engage with them. So what I do here is I go to the community portal. I can read blogs, I can see forums, all kinds of idea sharing. I'm really starting to become excited. And an agent reaches out to me as I'm browsing the portal. And I can actually have a dialogue with that agent. They first ask how they can assist me, and I mention that I'm interested in this new product that's launching. So at that moment, they actually can detect my location, and they can say, hey, guess what? An event is taking place near you. And if you ever have the possibility here to attend a Polaris event, I highly recommend it. They're super entertaining, you'll have a great time, and you'll learn a lot about the products. Furthermore, I actually accept that, and they ask me for compliance reasons if it's okay that they pass my details on to the marketing organization that can invite me out to that event. I agree, I consent to that, and they ask if there's anything else that they can help with. And I do. I have a very detailed question, because it's about me getting the details I need for our acquisition, about the cargo bed capacity of this Ranger. And they actually reply to me and tell me that it has a cargo bed capacity of just over 680 kilos. So I found the information I need. I actually attend the event, and during that event, a Polaris sales representative talks to me. And I asked him to come visit me so we can actually explain the details behind our needs further. And the sales representative visits me. And using the product configurator, we actually look at this beautiful Ranger here, and we go through the features and options to actually work out the spec that we need. Right as they start to leave my premises, I'm really happy. And I say, hey, can you provide me with a quotation? And as they leave the door, in my mailbox, I immediately receive the exact quotation that I was looking for from them. And using Adobe Sign, I actually have the ability here to present this to my board, of course, but then digitally sign this quotation, and I become a customer. And at the moment I become a customer of Polaris, I also receive an additional email. Welcome me to the family. And what they're also able to do here is allow me to register for warranty. So I've acquired the fleet. I was an anonymous prospect. I went through this very nice journey of attending an event. I'm now a customer and a member of their family. So what did that actually look like for all of the Polaris employees that were supporting this process? Well, we're going to start with the marketing department. We're actually going to be looking here at Adobe Campaign and a journey that was defined in Adobe Campaign to support the browsing of the website that we saw earlier. But they do a lot more than that. They define a lot of marketing activities. For example, Polaris sell through independent dealers. These dealers need to be trained. They need to have certification. We need to ensure what the showroom setup is going to be. All of that being designed in customer journeys. One thing you may not have noticed, but when we were talking to the Polaris agent on that portal, that was actually a bot. A bot that's available 24/7 in a multitude of languages and was able to detect my location, pass on my details to the marketing organization, and answer a very detailed question about the particular Ranger that we were looking at. What marketing also did was qualify this lead and pass it on to the sales organization. The sales organization was using Dynamics 365 for sales. And all of this information was actually passed from Adobe through the common data service into Dynamics 365. And once that sales representative picked up the lead, they had a reason to act on it. And that reason was actually managed through predictive lead scoring. This was qualified as a grade A lead and assigned to the sales representative to take action quickly because it has a high probability to close based on a top 10 scoring reason that the system computed. Furthermore, as the lead was picked up, they immediately had Sales Navigator controls embedded in Dynamics 365. On the main form, the first thing they saw was able to expand the network. They had icebreakers when they started to talk to that lead. They could even go further into that account and find new leads that they could begin to work with or connections that they could use to utilize within that deal. And taking it a step further, as they began to follow the business process, they obviously exchanged phone calls, tasks, email, appointments. Using the power of Dynamics 365, Office 365, and Azure, the system will calculate the relationship health. It will look at all of the emails I sent, all of the appointments we had. It'll even go as far to say, how much time have we spent on this deal? How much time has the customer spent on this deal? What our response time is, what their response time is, giving me a true idea of the relationship health and obviously a quality of pipeline within the organization. There was also one thing the customer never saw within this process, and that was the fact that they had specific customization requirements for the vehicle they were purchasing. So using Microsoft Teams and Dynamics 365, I was actually able, as a sales representative, to interact with product engineering in the context of the opportunity. In most organizations, product engineering typically don't have direct access to a sales application, so they actually can do this through Teams based on conversations and file sharing. So in this case, they actually provided me with a PowerPoint presentation that I could then pitch to the customer about this specific customization for the vehicle. So as I mentioned, at this moment, they signed that quotation based on the perfect quotation we provided them. And we transitioned into customer service. We saw that the register for warranty email went out. The customer service manager starts to monitor all incoming cases from an omnichannel environment. And a customer service representative actually receives that case, and through knowledge-based articles, which we see here on the right-hand side, was going to make a phone call because the size of the fleet that was purchased was was able to offer a free first service for that particular fleet. So making that phone call, they obviously use a knowledge-based article to walk the customer through each one of those steps. And that's the end-to-end process. So let's zoom one step out here. And I'm actually quite proud to stand here and announce Dynamics 365 AI for Sales. During this process, we did see infused intelligence within the Dynamics 365 app that guides a sales representative through what they're looking at. But this tool here that we're looking at is insights for a sales manager to manage the health of the organization and to coach the sales team. So first of all, we start to see insights like there's 11 days left in this quarter, we're 87K below target. Okay, so let's view a report that actually supports that particular data. This is embedded Power BI, but we'd like to take it a step further. And through statistical modeling and machine learning, we're actually receiving here insights. For example, we've been selling more in Australia than we were last year by 10%. If we drill even further through that particular process, and we go back to the homepage here, we'll see the health of our pipeline. 3 deals are worth 180K. They're closing soon, but they have a poor relationship health. We're actually, in our inside sales team, using cognitive services, able to track the sentiment analysis on all the calls that are taking place. Are the customers happy? Are the conversations going the way we want? Are we listening to the customer enough during that conversation? Then here, as a sales manager, I have highlights of what's going on in the day. For example, Ryan just won a deal, and it's pretty cool because it was a 5K deal that was at risk of being lost, but he managed to turn it around. Additionally, I've got an upcoming one-on-one with Eric, and remember we had that 87K gap that we were looking to close. So if I look at the sales leaderboard in our organization, Eric's also struggling to meet his quota for the quarter. So this is a pretty important one-on-one for both Eric and us as an organization. So as I actually drill into Eric's scorecard here, we get an overview of the opportunities that are at risk for Eric at this particular moment. And we really need to talk about them. And one thing that the insights provide is on one of those particular deals, I personally have a connection at that account. And I can introduce Eric to a stakeholder at that account, which is going to help him most likely turn the deal around and help on that quarter. And furthermore, back to the sentiment analysis, because Eric is working in inside sales, we see that he's also been lacking or trending in a negative sense on the sentiment analysis of the calls that are taking place. So perhaps offering him additional coaching and training would be able to turn that around as well. So with all of that being said, we've looked at a customer journey and we've looked at how AI for sales can improve a company's health. So with that being said, back to you, James, and thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. So I think the thing I want to highlight on this one, and I'll do this as we sort of roll through these, is for this one, I think it really shows unified and intelligent in some ways. The opportunity to bring data together. We saw Office 365 data coming in, LinkedIn data coming in, Dynamics 365 data coming in, and really transforming the experience. for everyone involved, the customer, the people that engage the customer. I mean, imagine, we talked about not liking ERP earlier. I'll go pick on CRM for a minute. I mean, as a salesperson who has to use CRM in a prior life, I didn't enjoy it. You know, it's all about entering call records and having someone else look to see if you're doing your job. Here, this business application allowed me to get help. It connected me with someone in my network that could help me move this deal forward. And so the ability to bring data, bring intelligence, and to transform that business process, ultimately to deliver better service to the So let's move now to operations. Critically important part. Scott talked a lot about the lean manufacturing and how they are assembling vehicles and delivering those through their distribution chain, transforming their supply chain. Kind of a dry subject traditionally, and you think about the business applications again in that domain where you're keeping track of inventory items and planning manufacturing schedules. We're going to look now at a demo that completely changes what's possible and what it means to run a modern, optimized operation. And to do that, I'm going to have Kevin Horlock come out, and then Chris and Madison will join him later on in the demo, but we'll start with Kevin. Kevin, come on out. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Yep.
So, I'm going to pick up this journey from a sales order. I'm going to pick this journey up from a sales order within finance and operations. Now, within finance and operations, I need to find the sales order that we were hearing about from Ryan earlier. Now, when Ryan was talking about it, he was talking about it from the perspective of a sales quotation. And we went through the journey of that earlier with the sales pitch, which was supported by a product engineer. Now, what's significant to us in this instance is that because that quotation is now being converted into a sales order within finance and operations, as a product engineer, I need to respond to a change request that was made by the customer in that pitch. I'm confirmed on screen that I've got the right vehicle, the one we can see on stage today. And during that pitch, the customer wanted us to change out a particular component. They wanted us to change out the air intake. They're going to use these vehicles in a very hot, extreme environment all the time, and they want to make sure that the engines will run in a cooler, more efficient perspective. So, as a product engineer, how do I deal with that? I need to be due diligent in the role. I need to make sure that the change is appropriate, and I can go out to the sources of data that we have that you were hearing about earlier across a multitude of repositories. So, for instance, I could come across to my release products, and within my release products dashboard, I can see I've got a particular Power BI dashboard associated with it, and this is actually now taking advantage of the Common Data Service. And the Common Data Service is actually drawing data from my production data. It's looking out to Polaris's own Ride Command app. And I'm also taking information from the Azure IoT data. And I'm bringing that all together so I can start to take some insight. So I can start to see immediately where those vehicles are being used, when they're being used, how we've got so many going through production, and what the sort of average engine temperatures may well be. But I can also delve deeper into perhaps one of those vehicles. So for instance, I could come across to the Azure IoT Central dashboard, and I can see I've got a particular vehicle on display now. I'm looking at all the metrics that are available to me. I can even sense, and I suspect you all know this, Death Valley is a rather warm location. Because I can see that also from the metric that's telling me that it's running at about 198.5 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is running at a good temperature there. And I can also see other metrics in terms of engine performance when those vehicles are being used. So the customer's concern, I'm starting to feel totally valid. Now, how would I go about making that change within finance and operations? So what I could do, I can come back to the sales order, and I can go into the individual item. I need to get to, in effect, the bill of materials. And from the bill of materials perspective, I will be able to evaluate the design. Now, bill of materials, in effect, we can have many versions of a bill of material. And it might be appropriate to have one version for that particular customer. In my case, I want to go directly into the designer itself. And as I go into the designer, I can start to see a number of pertinent information. So I can start to see the operations that it's going to go through, where we have all the IoT data kind of being accumulated to date, which I'll touch on a little bit. But I can also see I've got the 4-inch air intake going on as well. Now, as the product engineer, I need to model. I can model different scenarios before I make a change. And this is where I can take advantage of embedding some Power Apps to go out and look at my data that I have in the field. So you can see on screen I've got one for air intake, for exhaust, for suspension. So I can click into the air intake configurator, and this is going to go out to my Azure IoT data, represent the data appropriately for me to help make my decision. So I'm working at data that is in context to my role. So here the default position is the 4-inch air intake module. I can start to see the bottom graph, which is where I want to draw your attention to, which is running at around 210 to 220 as an average temperature. But if I was to actually switch that to the largest available and click that across to configure, it's going to go back out, it's going to grab the right data for that air intake module. Now I should just highlight, I'm not redesigning the whole new vehicle. All I'm doing is a customization against a number of variant components that are approved against this design. And when that comes back, we can see here that the engine temperature has dropped down to around the 175 to 185 range. So that's a good sign that, that making the change is going to have the right impact that the customer is looking for. So we're going to adjust the bill of materials. We're going to send a new bomb to production. Off the flow will go. And whilst that is occurring, if we might move our clock forward a little bit, at some point the customer's likely to get in touch and ask us, how is our order coming along? Are we going to meet the delivery date? And so from a role perhaps of an internal sales associate, I may well be asked that question. And traditionally, what would we do? We'd dive into the sales order, we'd locate a delivery date, and we'd confirm that back as to what the best suggested date is. But if we wanted to be more transparent, take advantage of the data that we have on the go, we can come across to our production status, and we have an embedded Power App here that is going out and it's looking at the position of all the operations, referring back to what is actually occurring in relation to our order. So I can start to see, I've got 15 completed. I've got 10 in work in progress, and I can see a fairly even flow across the operations. Nothing is showing in red, everything is in the blue, so I can give that extra kind of comfort back to our customer and let them know that we are actually in a really good position to deliver on time. Now let's wind that clock forward a little bit further. We have now a very happy customer with a fleet of these vehicles out in the field, and I actually think there's probably a lot of people out there having a great time with those in the desert. We have an account manager to consider. Now that account manager is going to be making sure everything is as it should be with their account, but they're also going to be looking for opportunity to upsell something to the customer. And that's perhaps where the dashboard that we touched on earlier, where we can take insights from a different role perspective and look at when the vehicles are being used. So for instance, where my cursor is at the moment, around the mid to end evening, nighttime, there's a lot of activity. A lot of activity with this particular fleet, perhaps. That could lead us to a discussion with the customer to indicate, perhaps we need some light bars to add on to the standard light fitting that we have. So an upsell order could result, which is brilliant news. So we've got our 25 new light bars. We can ship those light bars directly to the customer from our factory, but the vehicles are already with that customer. So we also need to sell some service time as well. So we need to provide a field technician who may need some remote assistance. How we would go about approaching that is by organizing for a work order. So we can take advantage of CDS, and we can generate a work order across into field service. And from a field service perspective, we could be looking at it from a sales manager perspective. Now that field service manager could be looking at it from a work order scheduling board, and they could be thinking, well, I can manually allocate this, or I can take advantage of the auto scheduling. Either way, there's going to be a notification sent to a field technician in the field onto their mobile device. And it could be a field technician such as Chris.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. Today, I'm also joined on stage by Luke, who has a special camera that will allow you to see what I see on HoloLens. As a subcontracted field technician, I receive a notification of a new work order on my field service app. It's got everything I need. It details the job, where to go, as well as any other necessary information. When I arrive on site, I find that the light bar delivery is already here, and I can get started on the first one right away. This order included remote assistance from a Polaris specialist. And this model is a little new to me, and the electrical is a little bit different. Calling a remote expert will help make sure that the install is smooth, like it was right out of the factory. By connecting with a remote expert, it gives them a window into my world. And not only is the remote expert able to see what I see, but they're also able to mark up my world with 3D annotations, allowing us to connect and collaborate more effectively. What's great here is that Dynamics 365 has provided the work order to Remote Assist, and I can see all the relevant information from the work order on HoloLens. Dynamics 365 has even recommended an expert based on skill set and scheduling. All right, let's give Madison a call.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Madison.
How can I help?
Well, I'm here to install the new lights onto my fleet, and I haven't worked on the electrical with these models yet. So I was hoping you could help me get this first one right.
Yeah, I can definitely help. I've got your work order here, and it says you're working on the Ranger XP 1000 EPS, correct?
That's right.
And it says you've got the SR series LED light, right?
Yeah, and I already went ahead and installed it into the bracket.
Cool. Can I take a look at your install before we get started?
Sure. All right. How'd I do?
Looks great. And Dynamics shows on my end that the Park Service ordered the Rangers with an auxiliary switch already installed.
That's right.
Okay, let's begin on the electrical.
Okay, I was thinking I should install the harness into the main line here.
You could, but let's do it just like the factory using the 12-volt bus.
Okay, sounds good.
First, let's install the wiring harness into this bus. Go ahead and remove the cover now.
Okay. All right, got it.
Next, snap the relay here.
Oh, looks like it's even pre-drilled. Okay, got it.
Great. Now grab the wire adapter.
Okay.
We'll replace these leads with the adapter. This lets us natively connect to the 12-volt bus, which you'll see in the wiring diagram. Take a look.
Oh, okay.
Now, combine the ignition lead and positive lead and crimp them together, like it shows here to here.
Okay, and connect it to this red lead.
Exactly. And be sure to remove that yellow ignition lead from the harness. You won't need it anymore.
Okay, all right, here we go.
That's right.
All right. Okay. Almost got it. Whoop. And here we go. All right, what do you think? How'd I do?
Looks good. Go ahead and plug it into the bus.
Okay, and done.
Now you're ready to connect the switch. Heads up, you don't have to pull the whole dash off. Just remove that center bay by removing these two clips.
Oh, okay. Well, that's easy. All right. Go here. All right, switch is connected.
Nice work, Chris. You are all done. Reconnect the battery and light it up.
All right. Battery's connected. Here we go. Whoa. Awesome. Hey, that's great. Hey, thanks for your help. Well, only 24 more to go.
No problem. You've got it from here. Give me a call if you need anything else.
All right, will do. Bye, Madison.
See you, Chris.
Now that the call has ended, and I finished upgrading the UTV with the new light, I can close out the work order. This automatically updates Dynamics to reflect that the job is complete, what time I finish, and it also gives me the opportunity to record anything else that I feel is pertinent. The customer can also see this change, whose Power BI is connected to a shared system, and they can see that their fleet details have been updated in real time. This completed upgrade shows that the power of Dynamics 365, combined with mixed reality, can integrate traditionally isolated systems. Physical work, shared data, and remote expertise come together to get the job done right the first time. Thank you.
Thank you. What? That was crazy. I think, you know, if you think about the The other two characteristics of Dynamics 365, so modern and the ability to adapt. We saw both of those happening here. I mean, this is unbelievable. If you think about the traditional field service business application support, the technician would normally come out maybe with an email, maybe with some printed out report about what needed to be done, and now the technician can literally be with the expert back at the factory, hands-on, sort of heads-free, or heads-up, hands-free, repairing the vehicle through HoloLens. I mean, it's a completely transformed business process made possible by this modern approach to business applications. On the adaptability side, I thought it was super powerful to see, in the context of Dynamics 365, Power Apps that sort of tune the experience specifically for the needs of Polaris. So looking at operations in a fundamentally different way, powered by data, intelligence, modern experiences, and adaptability. So we're going to shift to the last blade in the propeller and talk about empowering employees. And I think, as we look across the business process spectrum, this is arguably the most important one. Our employees are ultimately, and our people, what makes our business what it is. And finding the best people, winning the war for talent, and developing your people as they come into the organization is what gives us all our competitive advantage. And we have been very fortunate to partner with LinkedIn, who joined Microsoft almost a year ago, to sort of sit at the front end of that talent lifecycle. LinkedIn is the world's professional network. It is the place where connections are made and where people are sort of highlighting their skills and capabilities. And by leveraging LinkedIn and then sort of moving forward with Dynamics 365 on the back of something like LinkedIn Recruiter, we've got the ability to connect you with candidates, to identify the best people, to onboard those candidates into your organization, to make them successful very quickly, and to develop them over the life of their career. And if you think about how that's done, again, it comes back to data and it comes back to intelligence and transformed experiences. It's one thing to keep a list of people who've contacted you and sent resumes indicating they want to join your organization. It's another to be able to go out and proactively find the best candidates and then engage them in a modern process, bringing them into your organization and having them join you and become productive very quickly and to develop them over the course of their career. So to take a look at LinkedIn Recruiter joined with Dynamics 365 for Talent, I'm going to ask Lydia Williams to come out and do our last demo. Lydia.
James.
Thank you.
Great news. We've actually received so many new sales orders from customers recently that we're going to need to go ahead and hire some new engineers into the organization to be able to deliver those sales orders for our customers. I'm a hiring manager. I manage a team of field engineers, and I've received the go-ahead to bring some new candidates in to find someone to join my team. Let's take a look at how, using Dynamics 365 for Talent and LinkedIn Recruiter, I can find some potential candidates, bring them in for interviews, identify who is the best match, make their compelling offer, and ultimately onboard them for success within my organization. So as I said, I've been given the go-ahead to start to identify some candidates. And the first thing I want to do is make sure that my job advert actually represents my team from both a skill level, but also make sure those individuals that come in for interviews are going to be a good cultural fit for my team. I can jump straight into Dynamics 365 for Talent and start to personalize the job to make sure that I'm happy with it. Personalize the skills that we're identifying and the job description. The next thing I'm going to do is identify my hiring team. And it's typically a challenge as a member of a hiring team. You might feel disconnected, you don't have the information that you need about candidates, and you'd be lucky to receive a resume the night before an interview. But what I can do is I can identify those key members straight away on day one, so that as we start to interact with candidates, the hiring team has one place to go to get a really clear understanding of the different candidates that we're interacting with. The next thing I'm going to do is personalize my process. This is really simple. Drag and drop the key stages of my process, which might be an assessment, an interview, and I've actually included in mine, including Skype details if I want to interview any candidates remotely. I'm then going to post my job out to LinkedIn. And it's at this point that I would hand over to my recruiter. And my recruiter can use LinkedIn Recruiter to source candidates from across their professional network. Now, they've started taking a look at Matty's profile, and she looks like a good match for the role. They can see her full profile, but what's more, they can actually see any interactions we've had with Matty previously. We can see any jobs that she's applied for and the stages that she achieved. We can see notes against her record, and we can even see interview feedback about why she may or may not have been successful in a role previously. So this means that my recruiter has full visibility of our relationship with Matty. And they can then go ahead, find the job that she's related to, and easily push her out to that job directly within Dynamics 365 for Talent. Now, if I come back to being the hiring manager or a member of the hiring team, I can now see every applicant who has applied for the job directly within Dynamics 365 for Talent. And as we receive a really high volume of applications, I want some help and support identifying candidates who are a good match for the role. And using machine learning, Dynamics 365 for Talent is going to go ahead and identify the candidates that have the greatest skill match for the role by looking at the skills that I've identified in my job description and comparing them to the skills in everyone's application. And it looks like Matty is a match for the role. So I can now jump into her application, and the first thing that I can see is her LinkedIn profile. I can understand all of the information that she's shared with her professional network, and I can also see any notes from my recruiter. The next thing I can see is her resume, which means I don't need to jump out to Outlook to find that file that was shared with me via the recruiter. So I think Matty is a match for the role, so I'm going to go ahead and bring her in for an interview. Interview scheduling is a very manual process, literally a case of going into different Outlook calendars and trying to find a time that works for maybe 3 or 4 members of an interview team. But using Dynamics 365 for Talent, I can automate that process. I can choose whether it's a panel interview or one-to-one, whether to include Skype details, and in real time, the solution is going to go away, look at their Outlook calendars, and tell me the best time for everybody to meet with Matty. And I can simply push that out to the hiring team, and they can accept or reject it from directly within Office 365. Now, on the day of the interview, we all come in and meet with Matty, and we decide that she's a match for the role. I want to be able to come in and record my feedback, but I don't want to have to do that on my laptop. I don't want to have to do that connected to corporate network. So we've made it really simple with Dynamics 365 for Talent. I can pick up my mobile on my way out to the interview as I'm commuting home, record the feedback while it's fresh in my mind, and in this case, I'm going to say that we recommend her for the role. Now, what's great is once I've recorded my feedback, I can then see the feedback of the rest of my team. And the reason we do it that way is because we want it to give everybody the opportunity to share their honest feedback in an unbiased format, but then get to see whether we agree on whether Matty should be brought into our team. Now, we've decided she's a great match for the role, she's a really good cultural fit, and she has the skills that we need. So we want to go ahead and make her an offer. And using offer management within Dynamics 365 for Talent, I can automate this process, pull in all of the key information into a contract, ensure that it's compliant by using our templates, and then really easily send this off to Matty to sign electronically. Matty's received the offer, she likes the look of the package, and she's going to sign it electronically. This is the point in lots of organizations where they decide, okay, the hiring process is over, we found our candidate, they've signed an offer, brilliant. But actually, we're seeing it slightly differently and seeing this as really the start of our hiring process. Because there could be between a few weeks and a few months before Matty actually joins the team on day one. So we want to bridge that gap between accepting the offer and turning up on her first day at work by sharing an onboarding guide that starts off with a welcome message, welcoming her into our organization, and then starts to allocate out activities. Some to Matty, so that she's all set up for her first day at work, but also some for other members of the team. And I've included, for example, a video so she can learn more about our vehicles. But one of the great benefits of working for Polaris is that every new employee has the opportunity to use a UTV for 12 months so that they can understand and be part of the riding culture within Polaris, and also, importantly, share feedback about the vehicles directly to the organization. So I've embedded a Power App. She can come in, look at the specs for every different option, and then ultimately order her UTV so that it's ready for when she joins the organization on her first day. And the final thing I've done is started to introduce her to some key contacts. Dynamics 365 for Talent is going to look at the individuals that I network with regularly who are important for Matty to meet when she joins our organization. It's going to suggest them. I can add them in as contacts so that I know when Matty joins on day one, she's already built out a strong network within my organization. So using Dynamics 365 for Talent and LinkedIn Recruiter, I've been able to find great candidates, bring them in for an interview, identify who is a great fit for our team, get an offer signed by them, and ultimately set them up for success, onboarding them into Polaris. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lydia. So, once again, it all comes back to data, intelligence, the ability to pull all of these systems together. It's sort of the whole is much greater than the sum of the parts. And in this case, the ability to find the right candidate, engage them, convince them to join, and then the thing that I thought was such a cool demo is this Power App that's embedded. And man, can you imagine working for Polaris and getting a device as part of your onboarding? It's pretty amazing. And all of that made possible because we've got this Power Platform that sits beneath Dynamics 365 and allows for this built-in extensibility, integration, and the ability to engage with data via Power BI. And so we've kind of covered, I said it was our last demo, it's the last demo of Dynamics 365, and we've spanned customer, product, people, operations. We've looked across marketing, sales, service, operations, finance, and talent. Now I want to talk a bit about that Power Platform layer, because ultimately, no business application is ever exactly what you need it to be. Every company has their own unique processes. Selecting a Polaris as an employee is certainly unique to Polaris, and the ability to create these unique experiences, to tune these applications to make them just what you need them to be, is part of what makes Microsoft Business Applications special. And it spans Power BI, Power Apps, Microsoft Flow. I think about it in some ways as measure, act, automate. Power BI allows you to understand and measure business outcomes. Power Apps allows you to create experiences to act on those measurements. And you can automate business processes with Microsoft Flow. And as I said before, this is a connected platform that is now all, sort of part of and built into both Office 365 and Dynamics 365 on top, but connected down to Azure beneath. And so you've got this low-code, no-code, highly effective platform for customization and extensibility, but with no cliffs. You can always drop down into Azure Functions, Azure App Service, Logic Apps, and pull all of that technology back up into the Power Platform to then inject into these business applications. And so to take a little bit deeper look at Power Apps, I'm going to have Ryan Cunningham come out and show how that particular Polaris Power App was created inside of Dynamics 365. Welcome, Ryan.
Cheers. Morning, everybody. So I want to zoom in on Power Apps here, and we've been seeing it all morning. We saw it in talent, we saw it in finance and operations. It is throughout Dynamics 365, the platform we're using to customize and extend business apps. But I want to look at this through the lens of this awesome program we've been talking about, the Polaris Owned Unit Program, POU. I don't know what your experience was showing up at your company on day one. I came to Microsoft, they handed me a t-shirt and a water bottle. I mean, I was excited to be here, but come on, you walk into Polaris tomorrow as first day employee, they say, why don't you take on one of these bad boys? That's pretty awesome, right? But fulfilling that program, that's non-trivial. I mean, you're talking 12,000 employees globally across dozens of corporate locations, across multiple continents. They can choose from multiple ranges of products. It could be this Ranger, it could be a snowmobile, it could be a motorcycle. The level of employee you are, it's not just actually for new employees, the level of employee you are depends on the benefit and the terms you can get. Fulfilling this thing, a lot more complicated than handing out t-shirts and water bottles, right? Which is why, but this is why Polaris is a leader in their space, because they understand that employees who are passionate and connect with their fans are better employees. And so it's worth doing. But I think as a category, you know, a room full of business applications people, we can imagine how a process like that was classically managed. You know, there's probably an intranet somewhere. There's an FAQ document you download. There's a series of spreadsheets and emails and processes in place. In fact, more than one employee dedicated to fulfilling this whole program. But I also think as a room full of business applications people, we can imagine a better way. We can look at the ideal form of this process, right? We can look at the kinds of experiences delivering the same kind of rigor and precision and depth and intelligence to our employees that we deliver to our end customers, right? You know, I want to be able, as a Polaris employee, to come to a beautiful web page and be able to check out all the details of this awesome Ranger and get all the specs, right? I want to be able to order it internally and have many of those sort of internal employee-facing processes done for me out of the box. I want to, hey, automatically checked our eligibility. I've automatically been approved for it. Give me the steps that I need to follow and help me check them off. Even bring bot technology into employee-facing experiences, right? Don't make me read that big FAQ document. Just let me ask, how long will it take to get this unit and pass that off and have a bot go query over that information and bring me the data back, and even make this experience social and make it a feedback loop, right? Let me go record my feedback with this product, my experience, and bring in all the other information about everybody else in my organization who is doing that. I mean, why don't we do this for more employee-facing apps? Why not? Well, I mean, there's a classic reason why not. Because if you're sitting here as a business applications person and looking at this through the lens of building a traditional app, building this kind of requirements document in your mind, it's complicated. This is not trivial from a software perspective, right? Well, we gotta look at your employee database, and we gotta get to your product database, and we gotta figure out what your inventory is like, and then we gotta put that all together, and we gotta figure out Azure AD auth. It's an internal facing thing. These are complicated problems. And classically, this would mean a requirements document this long and an RFP process, and we'd go through this process for months. That's why we're not changing these things, because a lot of them, you know, in the case of Polaris, hey, you want one of these, you're gonna figure out the process no matter what it looks like. You're gonna figure it out. But that attitude, you're gonna figure it out, is something that we embrace too often here in business applications, and we are changing fundamentally. This is what James talked about in the beginning. 87 fields to fill out a new opportunity, they'll figure it out. Walk across the warehouse for 10 minutes just to use a terminal to input information about a work order, they'll figure it out. We gotta wipe all of that out of our minds and rethink how we build employee-facing experiences, because this is not a custom developed expensive software project in a silo. You're looking at a Power App. This was built with low code and high productivity. This was built on a platform that already is connected to all this data and information. You've seen it all morning long. When you're using this platform, we already know about your employees. We know who's starting next month. We know what products you offer. We know what their availability is in the warehouse. All that information is at your fingertips. And if it's not in this system, there's a list of 200 plus connectors that make it easy to get at. And that fundamentally underlies all of the applications that you're using and building, where I can then flip around to the back end of this process. I can look at the management view, because Power Apps is now the platform that powers all of these Dynamics applications natively. Sales, service, marketing, field service, built on this platform, and on the same platform that's extensible to build your own applications. You know, there is no app for managing this employee, power sports vehicle program, but we can build it with all the same tools. We can walk through this process from a management view and keep employees on the rails and build all of the same intelligence out of that. This is all of Dynamics 365. It's also under all of Office 365. So I can take those experiences and not just customize talent or field service, I can put them in SharePoint. I can put them in Teams. Let's go pop into Power Apps and Teams here and search for this POU benefit program and add this to a Teams tab. And now I've gone and I've made this process so much more than just a better request process. I've made it social. I brought it to the point of feedback where employees are discussing this. I can use it in all the same ways right here, and that is powerful. But you know, there's more going on here than just customizing Office and customizing Dynamics. This is also about fundamentally mobilizing and building standalone applications. Because I don't want to just do feedback about this unit while I'm sitting at my desk. I'm also out there using it in the field all year long, and I'm getting all these great experiences with it as an employee. And so we want to make that process mobile. Now, for those of you who are a little skeptical, how fast is Power Apps really? What can you really do here? I want to start building from scratch. This is a brand new project. There is nothing here right now. And you'll notice that Power Apps at first blush looks a lot like PowerPoint, right? This is not a high code environment at all. I can pop in an image, I can pop in a button, I can go drag it to where I want. I've got full creative freedom on this canvas. This is not just an on-rails declarative experience. I can go make this the feedback button, and I can even put in arbitrary text. All of my office skills apply that my users have been building up over time. Just colors, font sizes, it's all very friendly and familiar here. But the thing is, this is not just static text, right? I can type in it. I can go say, hello. That's very easy. But you'll notice as I'm doing that, what we're doing behind the scenes is silently updating this very Excel-like expression language up here at the top of the screen. And in fact, every single property of every single thing in this application is governed in a language that millions and millions of people already speak and understand. We honor the entire Excel syntax here, and we've added to it a little bit to make building applications easy. So now I'm going to do something really powerful with just one line of an Excel expression. I'm going to pull in all the data that I know about this employee from Office 365 because they're logged in with Azure Active Directory. I just did a complex integration there, and all it took me was typing one simple expression, right? And I can apply that to bringing in all of this data from across my applications, right? I can go add sources from literally 200 and more different places, everything from Adobe to Zendesk, we like to say, all of Office, all of Dynamics, and dozens of other services beyond. And you know what? If it's not in this list, you can put it here. You can add your own custom connections, even get it on-prem data sources. There's just so much richness and headroom for what's possible. And of course, I can do more than just text boxes and buttons as well. I can start to bring in rich controls to make this thing look what I want it to look like. I can format these exactly like I would any other thing in a PowerPoint document. But again, these are all bindable to data. So I can go make this thing look exactly like what I want it to look like. And then I can connect it. And that is part of the power of this platform. I can say, hey, let's go point this at the vehicle request. Let's go see what Ryan has requested. And I have all of the ability to work with all the data on that vehicle request. I requested a Ranger, both through these nice point and click experiences here, but then also through my nice formula bar. I can go pull the vehicle image in with autocomplete. And now I know what Ryan has ordered, right? And I can go pull this through really quickly. But of course, we want to collect feedback about this process as well. We don't want to just make nice buttons and arrows. So I can add a screen, and again, I can connect rich forms to data. I can go, let's go pull in this feedback request from the common data service, and I can add all kinds of things here from my feedback requests. I've got this nice quick feedback option that sort of pre-fills some options. I've got a rating. I've got comments. I can light this thing up and make just the subset of the experience that my employees need. And of course, I get great controls out of the box, but I can change them. It make it a star rating slider. I already know that there are certain numbers of things I want to fill out here. This is a great experience. But it's still a forms experience, right? I want to take advantage of the richness of this device. I want to say, hey, let's start to put in some camera controls. Let's take advantage of the fact that our employees have great cameras. Hi, Mom. We got everybody here. And let's also take advantage of the fact that this device can do touch. It can do input. Let's not make that a blue background, and we'll drag this thing right over here. I can build all of a sudden an incredibly rich application. And not only that, I'm connecting it to device capabilities, I'm connecting it to data sources. We've already integrated Office and Dynamics, the common data service. I can also now back this with intelligence. I can use Microsoft Flow to say, hey, every time a feedback comment is ordered, let's go run Azure Cognitive Services over it. Let's go pull sentiment out of that text and detect key phrases out of that text and iterate over them, and then enrich that same record back in the common data service. And then based on the sentiment we've detected, let's go look up the product manager for that particular vehicle and notify them if an employee is out there in the field having an experience with a product that they want to give feedback about. And all of a sudden, what started with a couple of photos and images and buttons literally seconds ago is now a completely transformed process, where as an employee, I can go grab my mobile device here when I'm out in the field using my Ranger. We'll switch to the mobile device. Battery life is hard. I've got my amazing long power cable here. But I can pop in and I can say, okay, I want to send feedback about my Ranger. And I want to take a photo. I put just a little bit more love into this app than what you saw me do. I'm going to say, hey, this light bar that we installed a little bit ago, it's great, but as I was running over all these trails, I started to see this particular bolt loosen a little bit. And I'm going to go commit that and send that feedback off. Right? And so now we're taking what was just a program about making employees feel better, and we're turning it into fundamentally a feedback loop. right? Now we're capturing all this information, and now we have all this rich contact, because what we can't do with our end customers necessarily, but we can do with our coworkers, is reach out and talk to them. Right now, every product manager can go say, hey, let me go look for just negative sentiment in this Power BI dashboard against the product that I particularly manage, and pop in and see that, okay, Ryan had an issue with the light bar. And again, this is a Power App embedded in Power BI and connected to all these data sources. I can go plan a meeting with Ryan, schedule an interview on his Outlook calendar, just like that. Right? And so we're bringing all of these things together in a really visceral way, in a way that actually is transforming businesses around the world. And this is happening. It's happening at Polaris. It's happening at hundreds of thousands of organizations. And it can happen at yours as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. So this, I mean, the Power Platform to me has been perhaps one of the most surprising growth areas. The number of customers who have sort of attached to Power BI, Power Apps, and Microsoft Flow to go start attacking all of these applications that have never been able to be built because it was just too complicated is pretty stunning. And what my experience has been that once one application with Power Apps gets built in an organization, it's almost like fission. So the app gets built, poof, a bunch of users show up and start using the app. They get ideas about the next app, poof, apps get built, and it really just takes off like wildfire inside of an organization. So if you've not had the opportunity to play with Power Apps, to play with Microsoft Flow, Power BI, really encourage it. It is a vehicle for fundamentally changing business processes inside of your organization and doing it at a pace that was never before possible. And one of the things that I said earlier, and I'll reiterate here, is that it's sort of a cliffless experience. Built into Power Apps is a native understanding of Azure Functions, Logic Apps, App Service. And so the ability to sort of create APIs, for example, that wrap complex business logic and make those available as building blocks inside of Power Apps is sort of a native part of that experience. And so an incredibly efficient, effective mechanism for rapid application development, but backed by all the depth and power of Azure. So that takes us through my part of the presentation. I want to leave you with the insight that we are nowhere near done. In fact, we're really only getting started with the innovation around Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. Next Monday, we release our October release, our autumn release of Dynamics 365, the Power Platform, over 400 new capabilities, and you'll see that pace of innovation happening month after month after month with this platform. And so the team is on a tear as it relates to sort of delivering innovation across modern, unified, adaptable, and intelligent, which ultimately is what characterizes the Dynamics 365 family in the context of the larger Microsoft Cloud backed by the Power Platform. So next, I'm going to have Alysa Taylor join back on stage and take us through how a number of industries are leveraging Dynamics and the Power Platform to transform their businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Thank you.
Yeah.
What an incredible demonstration that we saw across Polaris and every facet of their business, starting to use technology to innovate. And it's really the solutions that each one of you bring to life that makes this possible. And it's incredible because if you think about where we used to be with CRM and ERP, we're in such a fundamentally different place today. And I talked about at the beginning, we see a number of companies across all industries doing the same type of innovation that we see with Polaris. And so what I want to do today, and for the end of this session, is really highlight 3 industries. So the first being manufacturing, and then we'll talk a little bit about retail, and then we'll move into healthcare, and we've got a special guest joining us. And so as I talked about in the beginning, all industries are in transition, and manufacturing is one in particular where we've seen, just like the first and the second industrial revolution, really change manufacturing. The digital revolution is doing the same thing. It's allowing manufacturing organizations to create connected, automated, intelligent tools that work together to create fundamentally new products. And one of the customers that I wanted to highlight through the lens of how they're transforming is McDonald Miller. And McDonald Miller is a facilities management company. They're located in Seattle, my hometown. And they have set out to fundamentally change how you build buildings. So they build them not only with cement, but also with data. And I say that very intentionally because what McDonald Miller realized was that to be able to construct buildings is one thing, but then to be able to maintain them and service them was very cost prohibitive because all of the systems were interconnected. So the ability to manage the HVAC, the water, all of the kind of different ins and outs of a building without having insight into how those systems were functioning was very difficult. And so they set out to create the world's best smart buildings so that they could predict problems before they actually came to fruition. And so I thought it would be best for us to hear from McDonald Miller directly about their story. So if we can roll the video.
This industry is founded on tradition. Respects tradition, it's the way that things have always been done. And so it's just ripe for disruption.
We maintain the building systems, both mechanical and electrical.
One of the core areas for innovation is around data analytics and how we learn about the health of what's happening in a building.
One of the biggest problems we have as an industry is identifying the type of problem that's coming in from the field. You have a lot of potential wasted man hours, wasted labor, wasted troubleshooting time, which all adds up to problem time for the customer.
Through our partnership with Microsoft, we've been able to develop essentially a connector that connects the health of that building with our dispatch system. If a building that we're monitoring with IoT has an error, it would automatically populate Dynamics 365 for connected field service and show up on our dispatch's dashboard.
So we can anticipate critical alarms, critical failures, and have someone dispatched to go cure those failures and report back to the customer before they ever knew it existed. Well, that's a wonderful gift.
It's a quantum leap. This is the beauty of the new age of integrated systems, and we are integrating it into literally every single line of business we have. Microsoft is actually thinking about things before I think about them. It's that competitive advantage that's going to make sure that McDonald Miller stays in front.
And so with Dynamics 365 and Azure IoT, they're enabling this new line of smart businesses. I also talked about retail at the beginning, and the shift from needing highly personalized experiences, both in a digital environment, but then also in the physical store. But retail also is going through another evolution of how do you bring very tailored, relevant experiences to customers as well. And so one example that I wanted to highlight is 24-hour fitness. And for those of you that may or may not know them, they're actually one of the leading fitness institutions. They've been around for 30 years. And they set out on a journey to think about how they would engage customers before they were ever known, and then bring that all the way into how you retain customers in the actual gym. And so as many of you know, lots of people sign up for gym memberships. They very rarely show up, and they also drop quite frequently. There's a very high turnover. And so with the Adobe and the Microsoft partnership, 24-hour fitness deeply connected their marketing and sales assets to be able to target anonymous users that were searching for gym memberships and be able to nurture them all the way to becoming a lead. And then once they became a lead, engaging their sales force, understanding that nurture cycle that they went through, and then providing a digital platform to be able to have customers very easy and quickly sign up. But 24-hour fitness also knew that, again, once they signed up, that doesn't mean that they're going to show up to the gym every day. So they brought that same highly tailored, relevant, personalized experience into the gyms themselves. So being able to digitally recognize a customer when they come in, and then be able to tailor their fitness goals and check in periodically with their fitness goals. And so by being able to do this, they actually saw a 200% increase, not only in their acquisition, but also in the loyalty side as well. And so that whole facet really has enabled 24-hour fitness to not only provide new customer experiences, but then to also make sure that they were meeting their profit and their bottom line as well. Now, the last industry that I'll highlight is healthcare. And so healthcare, I would argue, has also gone through some fundamentally massive changes over the last 20 years. And it's not just about the compliance and the regulation, but it's also about how patients want to interact with their healthcare providers. So it's going from a world of actually coming in and just interacting at the time of need or the time of care, but also being able to expect more proactive type services. And so we're very pleased today. We have Northwell Health joining us today, and they are one of the innovators in healthcare. And they're doing this in two ways. One, they are reimagining how organizations better serve patients. But they also, as the economics of healthcare are changing, they're also working to be able to provide new business models so that the healthcare organization stays viable. And they've done this through what we call an innovation center. This is one of the best examples that I can share in the healthcare space, because they actually have a center located on the facility that allows them to rapidly test many of the things that you saw here today before rolling it out across the organization. And so with that, if you will join me, please, in welcoming their Chief Innovation Architect, Vish Antarmacha. Hi, Vish.
Hi, Alysa.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure to be here as well.
So why don't we start with tell us a little bit about Northwell and the communities that you serve.
Sure. Northwell Health is one of the nation's largest healthcare systems. We serve a population of about 11 million patients in the greater New York metropolitan area, and really offer a spectrum of services, everything from the 23 hospitals we have, including children's hospitals and behavioral health centers, to over the 600+ outpatient facilities we have. We have about 68,000 employees and employ nearly 4,000 doctors.
Wow.
So we're really a very complex health system. In fact, our facilities deliver nearly 15% of all babies born in New York State every year.
Oh, that's amazing. That's quite the expansive reach you have.
Yeah. So besides the traditional forms of healthcare, we are also, in the last couple of years, doing other types of healthcare services, everything from preventive healthcare to urgent centers to even 911 services.
Okay.
Nearly 50% of the calls, 911 calls in one of our largest counties comes to one of our healthcare centers. So it's a very interesting organization that we work in.
Absolutely. And again, we're so thrilled that you're here today with us. One of the things that we talked a lot about is data and the use of data. And I think the healthcare industry is one where you have data across many different applications, but then also many different networks as well. So how are you starting to be able to aggregate and unify that data?
Yeah, healthcare has been being transformed in the last couple of years, ever since the Affordable Care Act was passed. And we've really started to move from an industry where we were paid for just what's known as fee-for-service, for the services we provided, to something that we call as value-based care. Now, what value-based care does is that we're responsible for understanding not just the single episode that the patient is here for us, but really try to understand a 360-degree view of the patient so that we can take care of the patient even after they have left our hospitals.
Right.
Now, there's a carrot and stick approach that all of our insurance companies use for this, and in some cases, we are penalized if the patient's outcomes are poor. It's
Right.
kind of a warranty.
Right.
So for instance, if a patient has had a surgery and they show up back in our hospital a couple of days after surgery due to an infection, then we are responsible for the entire cost of that care.
And I talked about that. The actual economics of the healthcare industry are changing. And so I think that's a great example.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we've also started to get into what we call as taking risk on the patient's financial aspects as well. As in, insurance companies are telling us, you're the best in taking care of the patients. Take care of the patient's entire care, right from wellness to their illness.
Right.
So we've really started to be able to understand what's happening to the patient outside the hospital, what's happening to those patients in those systems that traditionally healthcare has never used. So traditionally, healthcare has all been about electronic medical records, and now we have to look at systems outside of that and workflows that are very complex. So in some of these cases, we also have had to use predictive models to really be able to understand what are the risks that the patient may have.
I was going to ask, because it's not just about having that view of the customer, but actually to provide that wellness, you actually have to start to do more predictive type care.
Yeah, absolutely. A good example is when a patient leaves the hospital, one of the metrics we want to track is whether the patient comes back to the hospital or what's called as a readmission. And so what we have had to do is, in real time, because the patient's condition is changing dynamically, not just use the clinical conditions, but also some of the social determinants of health, and predict whether this patient is likely to come back to the hospital and intervene a little earlier to provide additional levels of services like care management services, or have proactively the doctor actually go to the patient's house in some cases, which is cheaper for us than the patient showing back in the hospital.
Absolutely. And so one of the things that we saw today, Ryan showed us the Power Platform and being able to really democratize development. And so I understand that one of your doctors actually built a Power App. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a very interesting story. So we started off with really the workflows that are changing in our health system. And one of the things we wanted to do was that every health system tracks is something called excess days. So when a patient is essentially in excess days, when a patient stays in the hospital for more than the time that they should have stayed, which is not good for the patient, and it's certainly not good for the health system because now you have a bed that's occupied by somebody who doesn't need to be there.
Right.
So we said, well, from a process perspective, we have something called an interdisciplinary rounds, where a doctor, a nurse, an administrator, a social worker go on the floors every day and look at the key aspects of every patient for a couple of minutes. And they want to be able to track some of the tasks that may be pending that are barriers to the discharge of that patient. For example, the patient may not have transportation available, which is why they got delayed, or a doctor hasn't read some result, and which is why they're not able to go there. So we said, well, why don't we look at whether we can build this a very quick app using Power Apps. And so we just took one of our doctors. He's a tech-savvy doctor, but certainly not a coder or a developer. And in a couple of weeks, what was very interesting was we came up with several prototypes of how this app might look. And that was very important because we focused on the process. And so while the doctor was doing this in designing these front end, we had a developer at the back end who looked at how we use the healthcare accelerator that Microsoft provides as a part of the Common Data Service, and integrate data in real time from our source systems, which is the electronic medical records, using something known as FHIR, F-H-I-R, which is a common protocol used in healthcare. And so effectively, in a couple of weeks, this doctor who was designing a number of screens had access to all this rich data through the Common Data Service.
With the standards that were already predefined through the accelerator, yes.
And so what we really started to do was now we were able to focus on what else do we need to do with this. So for example, we integrated an Azure bot right inside this application. And the reason for this was very interesting because, again, we focused on what the user needs were. The user said on a small mobile screen, you can read some information. Healthcare produces a large amounts of data. So in a given visit, there's almost 15,000 data points that a doctor or nurse has to process. So they said, well, you can never put all those 15,000 data points on the mobile screen. What if we had a bot that simply you could ask a question, what's the last medication that was given for this patient? Or what are the social determinants that may affect the discharge? And so suddenly they were able to really access all that information trapped in the EMR or the electronic medical records very quickly using this bot.
That's amazing. And to start from the doctor and then to be able to bridge from that. And I talked to the room about the Innovation Center that you have located in New York. So as you're working through this Innovation Center, what's next for Northwell?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what is very exciting for us is how the entire Power Platform and Azure has democratized app development. And so we're really able to build on things that we've done and take it to the next level. So for instance, we are working right now with the HoloLens, and just like the example you showed earlier, as I said, we take almost 50% of the 911 calls in our community. And so we have our first responders who sometimes have a complex case in the field that they need an expert doctor in the hospital to look at. So we're looking at how we might use something like a HoloLens to really see how this works. And what we've done in this Innovation Center is simulate real-world environments. So we have a patient's bed, we have the real networks, which we have a lot of digital dirt that can simulate what can be done there, and then before we take it out to the field, and that's been a very exciting experience.
So you can get out, as you call the digital dirt, so you are actually able to sort of sort through that before you roll out a new technology.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. Vish, thank you so much for your partnership and for being here.
Thank you, Alysa.
It's a pleasure.
Bye.
So as I talked about, healthcare is a complex industry and one that's changing pretty rapidly. And what you saw here today with Northwell is the ability not only to provide personalized experiences, but then also how to unify data. And healthcare is one of the more challenging industries to be able to do that. And then to be able to reason over that data, imply intelligence, and then create new solutions that actually ultimately help the patient, help the organization, as well as the caregivers within the network as well. So it's really exciting to see what Northwell is doing, as well as the continued innovations that you guys bring to this industry. And so with that, I'm going to wrap up for today because I hope that you enjoyed the session. Lots covered today across all of the technologies, dynamics, the Power Platform. And it's ultimately about the solutions that you use to bring this to life for the customers and the industries that you serve. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of this conference.